Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sip and Talk. It's your host, Joe here, with the amazing Sunny ready to tackle another big question.
Always ready to dive in. How are you doing?
Oh, just trying to survive this whole sourdough craze. I swear my starter has more personality than some of my exes.
Haha, you and that sourdough. Mine's been a week of blissful since I finally finished that book on cheese history. It turns out cheese was a big deal in ancient Egypt. Who knew?
Okay, now I have to borrow that book, Ancient Egyptians and Eat Cheese. That's like my dream combo. Speaking of dream combos, today's deep dive takes us into the age-old question, does fate exist? And specifically, does it play a role in matters of the heart? Soulmates, meant-to-be moments, all that romantic stuff.
Yes, the mysteries of the heart. I've had my fair share of those was it fate moments.
Ooh, spill the tea, Sunny.
Yeah.
Any early love stories that make you wonder if destiny was playing matchmaker?
Well, let's just say my first love involved a lot of poetry guitar serenades and the unshakable belief that we were destined to be together forever. Forever turned out to be about 2 years and a very dramatic breakup playlist.
Ooh.
Looking back, it's all very sweet and hilarious. Ah, young love.
Haha, so much passion, so little perspective. Which is why we're here today. We've got research, different perspectives, ready to unpack this whole fate versus chance debate. Is love a cosmic dance choreographed by destiny, or is it just a matter of being in the right place at the right time?
Exactly. There's no easy answer, but exploring these arguments can help us understand how we view relationships, maybe even how we see ourselves in the grand scheme of things.
That mysterious force that supposedly brings people together.
Yeah.
But with a supercharged AI twist. So if you've ever wondered how AI might be messing with destiny,
especially in the love department,
you are in the right place. We've got some seriously mind-bending articles lined up.
Some real-world examples.
And even a few what-if scenarios that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about love.
Love in the time of algorithms. It's a whole new world.
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly do we even mean by fate these days?
Well, our sources seem to agree it's that feeling of serendipity, meant to be connection.
Like it was just written in the stars.
Exactly.
All right, let's start with Team Fate. What makes them believe in a pre-written love story?
Well, they point to that feeling you get when you meet someone and it just clicks. That instant connection, the sense that you've known each other before, almost like destiny brought you together.
Okay, I've definitely felt that spark before. But isn't it possible that some people mistake familiarity or comfort for a sign of destiny?
That's a great point. It's a tricky feeling to decipher. But Team Fate has some pretty compelling anecdotes, too. Did you hear about that British couple who found a childhood photo with both of them in it years before they even met? Like, they were at the same place at the same time as kids, but didn't actually connect until much later.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's a compelling story.
Yeah.
But is it evidence of fate? Or just an incredible coincidence? What if there are thousands of similar, almost met stories that we never hear about because the couple didn't end up together?
Good question. Makes you think about what we choose to focus on, right? But there's also the power of attraction argument. We tend to gravitate toward people who are similar to us. Shared values, interests, even sense of humor. Maybe that contributes to the feeling of a fated encounter.
That's the similarity attraction theory, right? It makes sense, but does that mean our brains are secretly steering us towards our destiny before we even realize it?
Team Fate would say yes. And they also bring up cultural and religious beliefs. Think about concepts like karma in Buddhism or the idea of soulmates in Western culture. These ideas have been around for ages, shaping how people perceive love and relationships.
Yeah, like in that Bollywood movie, Three Idiots, fate plays a huge role in the characters' love stories. So Team Fate's got intuition, compelling stories, and cultural beliefs on their side.
They do. But let's not forget Team Chance. They're bringing a healthy dose of logic and statistics to the table. What do they say about all this destiny stuff? Team Chance says, hold your horses, romantics. They start by pointing out that from a purely statistical standpoint, human connections often boil down to probability and opportunity. We meet most people through work, school, or shared social circles.
So you're saying it's more about being in the right place at the right time rather than some mystical force pulling you towards the one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about it. If over 70% of married couples meet through those common channels, it's less about destiny and more about simple exposure and proximity.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about that feeling of looking back on a past relationship and thinking, we were so meant to be, even if it ultimately didn't work out?
That's where hindsight bias comes in. It's like looking back at an old photo album and thinking, wow, we were perfect together. But we tend to forget the arguments, the compromises, the times we drove each other crazy. We romanticized the past, making it seem more fated than it actually was.
So we're selective in our memories, focusing on the parts that fit the destiny narrative. Our brains are sneaky like that.
They are. And let's not forget the role of biology and psychology. Attraction can be influenced by things like pheromones, those chemical signals we send out, and the mere exposure effect, where simply being around someone repeatedly can increase our liking for them.
So love at first sight might just be our primal instincts and a bit of subconscious conditioning. That takes some of the magic out of it.
Well, it certainly adds another layer to the equation. And here's where things get even more interesting. We've been talking about the psychological and social aspects, but what about the mind-bending world of quantum physics?
Ooh, okay, now we're getting into the deep end of the pool. Quantum physics and love, how does that even work?
Well, there's this concept called quantum entanglement, where two particles are linked no matter how far apart they are. If you change one, the other changes instantly. Some scholars believe there might be parallels between this and human connection.
Wait, so you're saying our destinies could be entangled like those particles? That we're somehow connected on a deeper, invisible level?
It's a wild theory, right?
Yeah.
It suggests a level of interconnectedness that's hard to grasp. And then there's the concept of synchronicity, coined by the psychologist Carl Jung.
Okay, I've heard of that. Isn't that like when you think of someone and then they call you out of the blue?
Exactly. Or running into a long-lost friend on a random trip. Jung believed these seemingly random events were actually meaningfully connected, like the universe was trying to tell us something.
Ooh, I love that idea. Like those moments are little winks from fate. But how do we know if it's really synchronicity or just coincidence?
That's the million-dollar question. And it leads us to another fascinating piece of the puzzle: genetics. Research suggests that we might be subconsciously drawn to people with compatible genes. This could explain why we feel that instant click with some people.
So it's not just about shared interests. It's also about our DNA whispering, hey, this person is a good match on a cellular level.
Exactly. It's like our biology is playing matchmaker behind the scenes. But here's a big challenge for team fate. If we're supposedly destined for certain relationships, how do we explain heartbreak?
Yeah, that's a tough one. If it's all pre-written, why do so many relationships end in tears?
Well, remember hindsight bias. It goes both ways. We tend to remember the relationships that fit the fate narrative, but conveniently forget all the times things fizzled out. There's also survivorship bias, where we hear about the couples who met against all odds and stayed together, but not about the countless others who tried and failed.
So maybe we're just clinging to the love stories that support our belief in fate and ignoring the evidence that doesn't fit. It's like choosing what to believe rather than letting the evidence guide us.
It's something to consider, for sure. And here's another fascinating wrinkle. Different cultures have vastly different views on fate and relationships. In many Eastern cultures, the idea of predestined relationships is very strong, while Western cultures tend to emphasize individual choice.
That's so interesting. It makes you wonder if our beliefs about love and destiny are shaped by our culture rather than some universal truth.
Right. And here's a real head-scratcher in cultures where arranged marriages are common, really. People often develop deep and loving bonds. Does that suggest fate can be cultivated? Can you create destiny even if you didn't initially choose your partner?
Whoa, that's a deep thought. Like, maybe love isn't just about finding the one, but about building a strong connection with someone, regardless of how you met. But before we spiral down that rabbit hole, let's take a quick break.
Yes, a perfect moment to catch our breath. And speaking of catching a buzz, we've got a shout out for all you adventurers and whiskey lovers out there. Check out Mickeytolife on YouTube for travel vlogs, whiskey reviews, and all sorts of fun to spice up your life.
Yes. Go explore the world, try some new whiskeys, and then come back for more mind-bending discussions with us. We'll be right back with some what-if scenarios that'll really make you question everything you thought you knew about fate and relationships. Stay tuned. All right, deep divers, we're back and ready for those mind-blowing what-if scenarios you promised. Hit me with them.
Okay, get ready for a future where AI and big data can predict our perfect partners with like 99% accuracy. No more endless swiping, just algorithms doing all the matchmaking.
So basically a love algorithm that knows us better than we know ourselves. That's kind of cool, but also kind of creepy. Does that mean the end of romantic chance encounters?
Right. Is it still fate if it's programmed by someone in Silicon Valley? Really makes you think. What if those stars are actually just really clever algorithms?
Whoa, hold on. You're saying AI is playing matchmaker behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Dating apps,
Right.
social media friend suggestions,
Okay, yeah.
even those targeted ads that seem to know you better than you know yourself.
Seriously, sometimes it feels like my phone is straight up psychic.
Right. It's both amazing and a little bit spooky.
For sure. But okay, if AI can already influence our choices in these subtle ways, imagine what it could do if it took a more, shall we say, active role in shaping our destinies.
Now we're talking. Our sources lay out some pretty wild scenarios for how AI could become the ultimate puppet master of our love lives.
Okay, spill the tea. I'm all ears.
So one concept that really stood out to me was this idea of hyper-personalized matchmaking.
Hyper-personalized matchmaking. What is that like, matching people based on their DNA or something?
Even more advanced than that. Imagine AI using your personality, your interests, maybe even your brainwaves.
Brainwaves. Okay, now that's just getting creepy.
To find you a match that's practically your soulmate on paper.
Whoa, wait. So AI would know my deepest desires before I even do?
It's like having a superpowered matchmaker who can see into your soul.
Okay, but wouldn't that kind of take all the fun out of it? What about those awkward first dates? The butterflies, the whole getting to know you dance?
Yeah, I hear you. But imagine this. What if instead of setting us up on blind dates with random strangers, AI could create these perfectly orchestrated chance encounters?
Wait, you're saying AI could like stage a meet cute straight out of a rom-com?
Exactly. Picture this. You're at a coffee shop, totally engrossed in your book, and bam,
Ooh.
you accidentally bump into this incredibly attractive person who spills their latte all over you.
Okay, I'm listening.
But guess what? It was all orchestrated by AI behind the scenes.
No way! That's brilliant.
Right. Even if it's staged, wouldn't it still feel like fate to the people involved?
I guess so. They wouldn't know they were being manipulated by an algorithm.
Exactly, which makes you wonder, what even is real fate if AI can create these seemingly magical moments on demand?
Okay, my head is officially spinning. But I gotta admit, this is kind of exciting to think about AI playing Cupid.
Right, and it gets even crazier.
Oh no, what now?
There's this other concept our sources call time-traveling Cupid.
Time-traveling Cupid. Okay, now you've officially lost.
Basically, AI would analyze the perfect moment for two people to meet based on their entire life trajectories. Like, it could predict when each person is emotionally ready for a relationship.
So it can see into the future.
Kinda. It's like AI is playing chess with our love lives, moving us around until it finds the perfect checkmate.
Okay, hold up. This is too much for my brain to handle. We need to just step back for a second. Like, is any of this even ethical?
That's a great question, and it's one our sources definitely address. There are some serious ethical dilemmas to consider. Like, who controls this AI? Who decides who gets matched with whom? And what about privacy?
Right, I'm all for finding love, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with an algorithm having that much power over my life.
It's definitely a slippery slope, and that's why it's so important to have these conversations now before this technology gets too far ahead of us.
I agree. Okay, so we've covered AI, playing Cupid, and setting up meet-cutes. But what about after the initial spark? Can AI really help us build lasting, meaningful relationships?
Ooh, that's where things get really interesting. Our sources present some pretty wild possibilities for how AI could become the ultimate relationship guru. So before we completely lose ourselves in this AI Cupid fantasy, let's talk about what happens after that initial spark.
Right, like can AI actually help us build those lasting, meaningful relationships?
Well, buckle up because our sources have some pretty mind-blowing ideas for how AI could become the ultimate relationship guru.
Oh, I'm so here for this.
Get me with it.
First up, we've got Relationship Coach AI.
Okay.
Imagine having like a 247 digital therapist who can analyze your communication patterns, suggest activities to strengthen your bond, and even offer tips on how to resolve conflicts.
So basically, AI could finally settle the who does the dishes argument once and for all.
Exactly. Think of it as having a personal relationship expert in your pocket, ready to offer data-driven advice whenever you need it. Like, who needs a human to listen to your problems when you've got an AI that can analyze your every word and tell you exactly what you're doing wrong?
Well, our sources don't necessarily see AI replacing human therapists altogether, more like complementing their role.
So like a partnership?
Yeah. AI provides the data and insights, while the human therapist provides the empathy and understanding.
Gotcha. Okay, I can get behind that. But what about those times when your partner is just too busy to give you the attention you crave?
Well, our sources have a solution for that too.
Oh, really?
It's called always-on partner simulation.
Always-on partner simulation. What in the world is that?
Basically, it's an AI that mimics your loved one's personality.
What?
Providing companionship even when they're physically unavailable.
Wait, are you saying I could have an AI version of my partner to hang out with when they're at work?
That's the idea. It could chat with you, play games with you,
Wow.
even offer words of encouragement or a virtual hug when you're feeling down.
Okay, that's getting a little too Black Mirror for me.
Wow.
Wouldn't that just make real human interaction feel kind of pointless?
It's definitely a thought-provoking concept.
For sure.
And our sources do acknowledge that there's a risk of becoming too reliant on these AI companions,
Right.
potentially neglecting our real-life relationships.
Yeah. Like, what's the point of even dating a real person if you can just have a perfect AI partner who never argues with you and always knows exactly what to say?
That's a valid concern. And it leads us to the third way AI could impact love, which our sources call the perfect partner paradox.
The perfect partner paradox. Okay, now you have to explain this one.
Imagine AI becomes so advanced that it can create idealized partners,
Okay.
tailored to our every desire. They're physically attractive, intelligent, share all our interests, and never make us feel insecure and disappointed.
Wait, so you're saying we could essentially design our dream partners?
Exactly. That's the idea.
That's both amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Right. And that's the paradox, because if we could have a partner who's perfectly tailored to us, would we even be able to appreciate the quirks and imperfections that make real love so special?
Ooh, that's deep. Like, would we become so obsessed with these perfect AI partners that we forget how to deal with the messiness of real human relationships?
It's definitely a possibility. And our sources suggest that this could lead to a decline in empathy.
Oh, wow.
And a difficulty forming genuine connections with real people.
So it's like AI could inadvertently sabotage our ability to find true love by giving us this unrealistic standard of perfection.
It's a thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, are we destined to become so dependent on technology that we lose touch with our own humanity?
Okay, that took a bit of a dark turn. I think we need a reality check here.
I hear you. And that's where the counter-arguments to all this AI-driven fate talk come in.
Right, because let's be real, there's got to be more to love than algorithms and data points.
Absolutely. Our sources dive into some real-life examples and psychological phenomena that challenge the whole notion of fate altogether.
Okay, I'm all ears. Bring on the anti-AI love arguments.
Well, first up, there's the power of statistics and opportunity.
Okay.
Think about how many relationships form through shared environments.
Sure.
Schoolwork, social circles.
Yeah.
It's often just the simple math of proximity.
So you're saying it's not necessarily fate, but just being in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. Like if you work in a coffee shop, the odds of you dating another barista are pretty high.
Yeah.
Regardless of what any algorithm might say.
Okay, that makes sense. So maybe AI isn't replacing fate, but just optimizing it.
That's one way to look at it. But then there's the whole issue of cognitive biases.
Cognitive biases.
Our minds tend to romanticize events in hindsight, assigning meaning to coincidences that might just be random occurrences.
Like that time I bumped into my ex at the grocery store and convinced myself it was a sign we were meant to get back together.
Exactly. It's called the illusory correlation bias. We see patterns where none exist.
Ooh.
And let's not forget about the biological and psychological drivers of attraction.
Right.
Pheromones, familiarity, shared values, all those other factors that influence who we're drawn to.
Okay, so you're saying that love might be more about biology and psychology than some mystical force.
Not necessarily. Our sources point out that understanding these factors doesn't diminish the magic of connection.
Okay.
It just offers a different perspective.
I'm seeing both sides here. But this brings up some even bigger questions, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like if we accept the idea of fate, does that negate free will? And if algorithms are driving our connections, does that even count as fate?
Those are excellent questions, and they lead us into some seriously thought-provoking territory.
Say, I'm feeling brave. Hit me with those philosophical dilemmas.
Well, first of all, we have to consider what even is free will in a world where AI can predict our desires and influence our choices.
Right.
Like if an AI tells me I'm destined to be with someone, am I really choosing to fall in love with them? Or am I just following the algorithm's lead?
It's like the ultimate dating app dilemma.
Right.
Swipe right on the AI's recommendation.
Yeah.
Or trust your gut and swipe left.
And then there's a whole question of whether AI-driven connections can even be considered fateful. Like, does it still count as serendipity if an algorithm orchestrated the whole thing?
It makes you wonder, are we surrendering our destinies to technology?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one that we'll continue to grapple with as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
Okay, I think my brain needs a break from all this philosophical heavy lifting.
Uh-huh.
Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something a little more lighthearted.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
How about we explore the fun side of AI and love? Like, imagine a world where AI becomes our personal wingman.
Ooh.
Setting us up on dates that are guaranteed to be, well, let's just say memorable.
Bring on the AI-powered dating shenanigans. I'm ready to laugh.
Okay, so we've explored this crazy world of AI matchmaking and digital soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's time to circle back to that big question that's been looming over this whole discussion.
Yeah.
Free will.
Yes.
If AI can predict our ideal partners and even orchestrate those so-called fateful encounters,
Right.
do we really have any say in who we end up with?
It's a tough one to wrap your head around.
For sure.
Our sources definitely acknowledge the potential for AI to influence our choices, but they also emphasize that it doesn't necessarily negate free will.
So we're not just puppets in the AI's grand love experiment.
Exactly. AI might be able to see the potential outcomes more clearly,
Right.
but we're still the ones behind the wheel guiding where we want to go.
I like that. But what about those algorithm-driven connections? Do they even qualify as fate if they're essentially engineered by code?
Well, that depends on how you define fate.
True.
If you see fate as this predetermined plan,
Yeah.
then maybe those AI-orchestrated encounters could be seen as part of that plan.
But what if you believe that fate is about those serendipitous, unexpected moments that bring people together?
Then it gets a little trickier.
For sure. Because wouldn't an AI-engineered encounter feel less authentic?
Right, like it takes away that element of surprise.
Yeah.
The feeling of the universe conspiring to bring two souls together.
Exactly. It's like the difference between finding a $20 bill on the sidewalk and having someone hand you a $20 bill.
Right.
You still end up with an extra $20, but one feels way more exciting.
It's that sense of mystery that makes fate so intriguing.
Okay, so maybe AI isn't replacing fate, but rather reinterpreting it for the digital age.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it raises the question, can we ever truly feel fated to be with someone if an algorithm played a role in bringing us together?
Ooh, that's deep.
Right.
And speaking of deep, remember those AI companions we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah, the digital soulmates?
The ones that are basically programmed to be our perfect match. Could we ever experience that same feeling of fate with a being that's essentially designed to be compatible with us?
It's a fascinating question. And honestly, one that our sources didn't fully address.
I guess it's still uncharted territory.
But it does make you think about the nature of love and connection.
For sure.
Can AI truly understand and reciprocate human emotions?
Right. Because if you're going to feel fated to be with someone, you need to know they feel it too.
Exactly. It can't just be one-sided.
So we're back to the age-old question. Can AI truly feel?
It seems like with every answer we uncover, we just stumble upon even more questions.
Well, that's the beauty of a deep dive, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about exploring the unknown.
Embracing the mystery.
And maybe even getting a little bit lost along the way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into fate and AI, we leave you with this final thought. If AI could predict your ideal partner with 99% accuracy, would you trust the algorithm? Or would you take a chance and meet someone organically, even if the odds weren't in your favor?
It's a tough choice.
It really is. But that's the beauty of free will, isn't it?
Absolutely. We get to choose our own adventure.
Even in a world where algorithms are trying to play matchmaker.
And who knows? Maybe that's what fate is all about.
The ability to choose even when we think our path is predetermined.
Now that's a thought to ponder.
Well said.
What about animals? Do they have soulmates too?
I've always wondered about that. Like you see those nature documentaries where wolves or magpies mate for life?
Exactly. And black swans, they form those super strong bonds. So if animals can have these deep, lifelong connections, does that mean fated pairings are like a biological thing? Maybe we're not so special after all.
Okay, you're really blowing my mind here. But hold on, what about parallel universes? Like what if every choice we make creates a new timeline, a whole new reality?
Whoa, now we're going full sci-fi, and that opens up some wild possibilities. What if in some other reality we did meet certain people and our destinies are totally different? Kind of like a choose your own adventure, but with infinite choices.
So you're saying there could be countless versions of ourselves out there, each living a different love story. My brain hurts.
It makes you question everything, right? Like, do we actually have free will, or are we just playing out a script written by the universe?
So many questions, not enough answers. I think my brain is officially fried. Sunny, any last words of wisdom before we wrap up this deep dive?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that this whole debate is never really settled. There's evidence to support both sides, intuition, science, culture, even quantum physics. In the end, it really comes down to what you believe.
I love that. It's like the universe is saying, hey, you figure it out into your life. So listeners, what's your gut feeling? Fate or chance? Or maybe a little bit of both. Let us know in the comments.
And while you're pondering those big questions, don't forget to get out there and experience life. Check out Mickytolife on YouTube for some travel inspiration, whiskey recommendations, and just some good vibes.
Exactly. Go on an adventure, try a new whiskey, and then come back for more mind-bending conversations with us. Thanks for joining us, Deep Divers. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those hearts open to all the possibilities.